Hello and welcome to Midlander Gaming. It's been a little bit of a while since the last video, so apologies for that. I really appreciate those of you who have subscribed and stayed subscribed over this time. With it being the school holidays in the UK, the kids are off school, so it requires a lot of time looking after kids and going on holidays and lots of other things. So time for hobbying has been short, I'm afraid. So apologies. That said, I have managed to get some hobbying in, and I'll do a couple of videos hopefully very soon to try and catch up on that. But until then, I just wanted to give a bit of an update on how I'm getting on with Waterloo Epic, or Epic Battles Waterloo Campaign Black Powder rule set. It's a bit of a mouthful. I think I'll just call it Epic Waterloo, just to make things simpler. So yeah, I'll give you an update. I've not done much physical hobbying, so painting and modelling for the game, but I did finally just try out the rule set, so I thought I'd give some feedback on that. I'd been reading the rules over the last few weeks, trying to catch up with it and keep it in mind. So yeah, I thought I'd play a little test game, and I'm going to show you some images shortly, of the layout at least. I didn't film the game as I played, so Paul Bonaparte joined me for a game, and we just ran a little bit of a trial scenario just to see how things went. We were going to film it, but I think with the amount of rules to learn and flicking through books on our first adventure, I didn't think it would make for a great video, and I was pretty confident we'd make a lot of mistakes as well. So maybe that would have been good, so you could all learn from our mistakes as well as we would. But I wasn't sure it'd make a great video, so I didn't film it. Took the pressure off us so we could relax and have fun and know we had time to flick through the book to find rules, which, despite reading the rules numerous times, we had to do. I think actually playing the game is still truly the only way you can learn a game. Reading the rules gets you so far, but there were many things that happened in the game which, when I read the rules, seemed like there would be an easy choice tactically and would make sense. But then playing the game, the whole, what I thought would be an easy choice to do, and I'll give you some examples shortly, during the game it actually turned out trickier, and there was more tactics required to do the choices I wanted to do, which yeah, you don't see that while just reading the rules. The nuances of the game, I guess, they really pop out when you're actually playing. So it was an enjoyable game. I do think we need to create a lot of house rules, or input some house rules to make the game feel a bit better for us personally. It is a personal choice, I think. Some people might be happy with the way the game plays. Again, this was only our first stab at the game, so we need to give it some time. But there was a couple of things that felt difficult to enjoy. I don't know how to explain it. It's probably not fair because we really enjoyed the game, but there was a couple of just small improvements I think we would like to make for our personal rule set, our house rules, just to enjoy it a bit more. So firstly, I'll just show you the board, show you what we played on. So I'll just flick away from my ugly mush and share with you what we were playing on. So as you can see, I just laid out a small trial scenario, that being there's an attacker and a defender. Defender has some artillery mounted on a hill. I tried to not worry too much about balancing points, but at least have balance in number of units. So this team, or this player, would have 2 infantry units and an artillery unit led by a commander, battalion leader. And the person who takes on this team would have 2 infantry units as well, but a cavalry unit as their 3rd unit, with a battalion commander. And with this, I figured it would give us a reasonable range of rule sets to try out. So we've got artillery, we've got infantry, and we've got cavalry, and high ground as well. And the terrain we didn't worry about. We just didn't want to bog it down with extra rules, so we ignored terrain, just kept it all as open terrain apart from the house blocking line of sight and woods blocking line of sight. It kept it nice and simple. The objective was for the person controlling this formation to take or push back or destroy this formation. Let's pretend that they're a rear guard, maybe for a unit or an army falling back, and trying to hold up a vanguard of a chasing army. That was kind of the premise. It was just something quickly made up. Didn't want too many units to slow us down while learning the game, and I think it actually worked out quite nice. So I'll just press play on the video and you can have a bit of a look at how the board lay. So like I say, we didn't worry too much about terrain. We kept it nice and simple. It was just and we kept it just all British rules as well. So this is the assault army. So 2 units of British line infantry. We might have kept the I'll just pause it there. Apologies. Now Paul took hold of. I'll just go back a section. So Paul took hold of the assault force, Paul Bonaparte, and we actually played them as French. Apologies. So this was French line infantry, 2 units, and it was light line cavalry. So these weren't used as British rules. Apologies, it was about a week ago we played this, so that slipped my memory. We played French rules because Paul had been reading more along what the French can do, their infantry rule sets. So we let him play as French, but obviously we used my models, so he didn't have to bring anything. And I played in English, and obviously was holding, or British, and was holding the hill with artillery. So while they're British models, we did use these as the French. So there we go. So the British, we had a unit of line infantry strung out in a line, and then we had a unit of, or battalion of, light infantry, and we had a unit of artillery. Now it probably isn't illegal choices using the book, but didn't care about that really. Just wanted to choose some models, get them on the board, and have a game. So just a little bit more video footage of how things looked at the start before rolling for initiative. And yeah, so that was the layout of the board. So to give some now feedback on how the game went, first things first was I'm going to pause it here essentially. In fact, no, I'm going to go all the way back to this view. So just before rolling for initiative, we started talking about which method of measurement should we use. So obviously you've got the rules which is in inches. So infantry move 12 inches, cavalry can move 18 inches, artillery can fire 36 or 48 inches, and so on and so forth. We thought this was going to be a bit too fast, so in one move these infantry would be about here, and if they got another order off, then they'd be in combat or very close range. I was a bit worried that would be a bit too quick, so we thought about turning it to centimetres, or rather I thought about turning it to centimetres, and then Paul pointed out that a 36 or 48 centimetre range from artillery would be to about here, and that felt too small. So we ended up doing half inches. So the units of infantry would move 6 inches instead of 12, cavalry would move 9 inches instead of 18, and artillery would shoot. We opted for the 24 inches. I've got a video about learning the rules where it calls ranges for artillery over light smoothbore artillery or smoothbore artillery. Now, there's nowhere in the book that mentions what smoothbore artillery is, but there is a discussion in the French artillery saying that they have heavy artillery. So anyway, that confusion aside, we just opted to go for choosing the longer range of 48 inches half to 24 inches, because then it gave a range to about this point, which was a little bit more palatable, shall we say, for a game. Still seemed a bit short for artillery, but we thought we'd give it a bash. So that was our first main concern. So then we went on to rolling for initiative, and well, actually the first turn I gave straight to the French, because I figured they're attacking, they'd go first anyway, and we rolled for initiative after that point. So unfortunately I didn't take any images of the game, but I'm going to describe what happened. So Paul advanced his troops up a short while and his cavalry around. I advanced this line infantry here and this line infantry. Probably wasn't a smart move to do, but I wanted to do it just to learn the rules and things like that. What we quickly noticed was if you don't remember to move your commander at the end of a turn to a position where you're going to need him next turn, it quickly became apparent that we could have our commanders out of position and be losing -1 to orders. So the order range obviously would be halved, because that's the rule set we chose for ranges. So it went down to just a 6-inch range on this guy before you'd start suffering a -1 to his command value or his staff rating. And we were quite often at -1, -2, -3 staff rating as the cavalry. Paul went with a flanking manoeuvre with his cavalry. As his cavalry got further and further away, he started to suffer these penalties. So yeah, we both made, I wouldn't say made mistakes, but neither of us optimised the position of our battalion commander very well. And I actually think that's a good thing, because I don't want it to be too easy. I want you to have to think, where do I put my commander? So it was actually quite pleasing to see that it wasn't. I had this horrible feeling when reading the rulebook originally, maybe because I was looking at 12 inches bubbles, that he would have this huge area around him and not have a problem in issuing orders. But yeah, that wasn't quite the case, maybe because we'd halved the range. Which it's debatable, because halving the range of the bubble, but we're also halving the range of the movement, so you would think that it actually balances out overall. So anyway, yeah, we had lots of tactical choices about where to position the commander during the game, and quite often we were failing orders, or only getting 1 or 2 off and then failing on the last one. So it was quite good fun. It meant your plan for battle had to be adapted as you unfortunately failed orders. Now obviously you still get your free moves if they're eligible for a free move, which helps, so you can still usually do a 6-inch move, 1 movement, and shooting is free if you're in range, so you don't have to worry about having that order either. We did realise that acting on your own initiative, however, later on in the game, only happens when you're within a certain range of the enemy. And we'd done that wrong quite early on, because we were doing it from quite far out. So that, when we realised that became a bit more tricky about realising that initiative, that kind of units acting on their own initiative, only really happens when they're very, very close to the enemy. So as we advanced towards each other in 1 or 2 turns, we slowly got within shooting range, firstly of the artillery. And this is where the first, I would say, disappointment came in. I remember when I read the rules for the artillery, and I noticed it was just 1 dice at long range. So these 3 cannons at long range, you're going to roll 1 dice to hit. It felt quite poor, quite underwhelming. And to be honest, that's how we found it in the game. So they were on the hill, but obviously I had to shoot over this unit. And then when they got into range, I was at long range. So 4s to hit, shooting over a unit made it 5s, long range made it 6s. So I needed 6s to hit with 1 dice. As you can imagine, my cannons did absolutely nothing. I think I hit once, but then the morale saver 4+, and I know getting hit by artillery has a modification to it, but it was saved. And even if it wasn't saved, it would have been 1 casualty with a stamina of 3. It's you really don't have to be too afraid of artillery. And that felt a bit strange, that even at long range the cannons just felt underwhelming and absolutely no threat. Half range you get 2 dice, but that would be 12 inches, which meant the infantry would have to get all the way to this point before they'd start being attacked with 2 dice, which is very, very close. And then short range, which was obviously normally 6 inches, reduced to 3 inches, which meant essentially they wouldn't get their 3 dice in to attack until the enemy was at this point on the hill. So we both kind of ended up the game after the game just thinking we probably would never take artillery with the rule set as it is at the moment. So either the ranges need to be increased so that their long range is somewhere at the edge of the board, and then medium range kicks in somewhere around here, so at least you have a couple of dice. And even then, 2 dice needing 6s to hit, because I suppose not long range anymore, so be needing 5s to hit if you're on a hill shooting over infantry, needing 4s to hit if not, you've got line of sight. But then they have a 4 or 5 save. I struggle to see how I would want to spend points on artillery over infantry, quite frankly. And like I say, this is our first game. Maybe we're missing something, but we felt that the artillery in particular needs a bit of work to make it feel right. So that was our first observation, shall we say. So we carried on playing, purposely did silly choices. So as this infantry unit here advanced, I charged in with this infantry unit despite the unit I was attacking being pretty much unharmed. I knew it was a mistake. I just wanted to see what would happen. I knew it wouldn't be a great idea and I would probably come off worse, but without trying it out, you're not going to know the full extent of what the results are when you do something stupid. As you guys who have played might already know, it was a ridiculous idea and they were obliterated just from charging in. The unit they charged, the French here, they had a closing fire round of shooting, which is counted as short range, so they were hitting on +1. I think they had another bonus to hit, which I can't recall what it was now, or maybe not, but they were hitting on 3s with a lot of shots. I didn't do that great with my saves, and they had to fall back straight away from combat, and they count as being in hand-to-hand combat when they failed their break test. So they fell back, became disordered, and had I think I had 4 casualties at that point. Luckily they didn't run away, so I rolled okay on the break test, but they just fell back. And they I wouldn't say they rallied. They reduced their casualties down to 3, but I struggled to improve that. Now, this will go on to another point where, when I read the rules and I read about rallying, I thought, oh, that's nice and easy. Yeah, get your commander in close, pass an order, and rally troops and remove casualty markers. It wasn't actually that easy, and again, I'm kind of pleased that it wasn't that easy. So reading the rules, I spotted rally needs to be the last order, but when you're playing the game, and then realise that commander, if he does something else and fails, he can't rally the troops, you all of a sudden have to decide, right, I'm going to have to ignore giving orders because I really needed to rally these before I lost them. And you can't rally them when they're disordered as well, I believe, I think, if I remember right. So I had to make sure that that wasn't the case anymore, and that only happens when at the end of your turn. So luckily, when they charged in, got beaten back by these guys and fell back disordered, because that was all in my turn, they actually lost that marker at the end of the turn. So next turn I could try to rally them, because they'd already lost that marker. However, later on in the game, Paul disordered them again from shooting, I think it was. But because it was in his turn, I had to go through all my next turn disordered, and then it wasn't until the following turn that I could attempt to rally them. So it is quite, it was almost like missing a turn, I guess. You put a delay on your troops. I also noticed then that when you rally, your leader, your brigade commander, actually joins the unit. So that was quite good, because I remember in my rule recap thinking, why would you ever join a unit with your brigade commander? It just seems madness. It offers very little, and just risk your commander. Now I can see why you would join it, because you might, like I did, want to really, really rally those troops. So it is a risk having your big brigade commander join them, but that's the only way you can rally troops. Unfortunately, I kept failing my checks or my staff rating test to rally, so I didn't actually ever join them. They ended up breaking and running off and being counted as destroyed after a few more shots and volleys from this infantry, and probably this infantry hit them as well. So yeah, it was a recap. Don't charge a unhurt unit with a unit of infantry. It was just suicide, which you would expect, and I would expect nothing less than how the rule set worked and what happened. But it was good to do it and actually see that was the case. The British with the first fire rule was quite good, so they had their extra dice at the start of their first time they shot, and my light infantry could re-roll one dice as well with sharpshooters, so that was quite cool. I rolled terribly, however, so barely did any damage. I think I caused, throughout the whole game, I caused one casualty here, and didn't hurt the cavalry at all. So the artillery did nothing. They did absolutely no casualties whatsoever, so that was from shooting from these two units. Like I said, we're needing sixes the whole game and only having one dice, the artillery just failed to have any impact on the game whatsoever. But yeah, nice little rules from the British infantry. The cavalry were quite cool, so they moved and flanked around. Paul was careful to how to position them in case I did get a shot with the artillery, and could use the enfilading, I think is it, rule, where you can shoot through multiple ranks. So he managed to, or he was smart enough with his manoeuvring not to give that as an option. And while I moved these in a way that would get them have a flank charge from the cavalry, it was also, I wouldn't say it was intentional because I didn't really want it to happen, but although I could see it coming, I wasn't too fussed about it happening, because I knew it was also going to be quite a cool thing to see, and again, it was worthy for learning the rules. So this infantry, my light infantry, and this French line infantry kind of faced each other off, and while that was happening, the cavalry hit them in the flank, and as you can imagine, just pretty much, well, actually saying that, they didn't roll too well, and I was lucky enough not to break and actually turn to face the cavalry, but because the cavalry counted as winning next turn, they still hit me pretty hard, and then I did fall back. By the time that had happened, it'd been several turns. We took quite a few turns to actually get up close. This unit had been destroyed. This unit had taken several casualties, and he was very close to overrunning my artillery. So we called the game at that point. But we had enough of a kind of practice to understand the rules, felt a bit more comfortable. Things were flowing a bit better towards the end, and it was good. Like I say, I think we kind of felt the need to tweak some things, so maybe some of them, the range stats, I think we might tweak. We might have a look at, play a few more games and try different rules for artillery to try and, whether that's, you know, each base gets a dice at long range, so 3 dice at long range, and it'd be 9 up close. That feels very, very powerful, but bear in mind, up close you have to be here, also otherwise it'd only be 6 dice here. Now again, that sounds a lot, but in actual fact you're only hitting on 5, so it'd only be 2 hits. If shooting over your own infantry, it'd only be 2 hits, and then they're going to save on 3s or 4s, so it's only actually 1 wound. So it kind of feels like it's probably a better way of, you know, you'd think artillery, a big giant cannonball hitting through ranks of men would be pretty demoralising and cause quite a lot of damage. So maybe that's an option we might think of. And maybe what we did realise, it's actually quite I always thought it was kind of a close combat game and you'd want to try and get in combat as soon as possible, but what we found is it's actually quite a shooty game. So after my terrible assault and falling back, neither of us really assaulted then, and we opted just to stand as close as possible, trying to get into short range if possible, and shoot the bejesus out of each other. And Paul unfortunately rolled a lot better than I did and caused a lot more damage. So yeah, it was fun, and I think we're going to have some more games now. Unfortunately, I might be away this weekend again, so I don't think I'm going to have a chance to play another game this weekend. But I wanted to get this up, at least this video up, and just, you know, inform you how it went and just give our feedback. But overall, we really enjoyed playing it. I've been looking forward to playing it for a long time, and Paul's played Napoleonics when he was much younger, in about 1920s or something like that. So, you know, we've both been eager to play it, and it was good to give the rule set a go. And I think it's still got legs in the rule set, but just I think we just want to add some house rules, I think, just to make it feel right for us. I would be interested to look at maybe some other rule sets as well, to maybe combine rule sets, because from what I understand from reading your responses and other comments on some of my videos, that the rule set for this is actually from a different scale game. So I don't know whether that just kind of, that's why it doesn't really work at this scale, or doesn't quite feel right at this scale. I'm not sure. But like I say, it was an early game. We need to have more units on the board, more options, you know, more things happening. So I'll keep trying it out and keep giving some feedback, and I'll try and get some videos as soon as possible. So there we go. I'll be really interested to hear how you guys get on with the game. What you people, anyone who's played quite a few games, how they've found things are, what house rules you might use, what range sets you all use. I'd be really keen to understand and hear what you're all doing at the moment, to see if we can, you know, use some of those ideas or combine them with ours, or even if we were thinking along the same lines of what you guys are. So yeah, put the comments below. Really appreciate all the comments that are always made, even if it's criticism, because at the end of the day, I can't improve without criticism as well. It's in, you know, if I don't spot things I'm not doing wrong or missing out, then, you know, you guys telling me is the only way I can learn. So yeah, put them, the more comments you've got, the merrier. Put them down below. I'll read them all. I'll try to respond to them all as well, and let me know how you're all getting on, and also, you know, that you do want to see some more videos from me. It's that bit of feedback really helps give me a motivation to get some more videos out and get some gaming. So appreciate all the guys and girls who have subscribed as well. Means a lot to me. Over the moon that people are watching my videos and enjoying the videos. So yeah, thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, think about doing it. It's nice, free, it's easy to do, but it helps the channel quite a lot to try and get the I guess what algorithms or whatever working so other people see videos. So there we go. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon, and hopefully have some more videos soon. Catch you all again. Bye bye for now.